Hey, welcome back to the On the Level Leadership Podcast. My name's Tammy. I'm a leadership and career growth coach, and I'm here to help you be the best leader you can be so you can grow in your career, hopefully in a way that is aligned with your purpose, which is why we have Roderic here today. I want to welcome back Roderic Lenhart. He is a coach, consultant, entrepreneur, serial entrepreneur, successful at his businesses, and also is a published author now. So I'm super excited to have you back to the show. Welcome back.
Yeah, thanks for having me. So much has changed, right? Since the first time I was on.
Yeah.
Even the title of the book changed in between when I was on and when it actually got published. So
exactly.
Yeah,
so tell us a little bit about what's been going on with your life last few weeks or months.
Last few months, book launch was 6-ish weeks ago, which feels like a lifetime ago.
Right.
And I was thoroughly exhausted by the time we hit launch day, and I put up a post that said as much. And I think it's good advice for all of us, myself included, is, I literally gave it everything I had. And it was like up to the gods at that point. I was either going to sell 10 books or 10,000 books, but I knew I couldn't do any more. Right. And it's a good feeling to be at that point. And we were fortunate. We hit number one in 7 categories, which Amazing. I could not have told you was going to happen. I thought, maybe one. That'd be nice to say I have a number one bestseller.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this from there, it's just been a snowball. All the other things we're working on surrounding the book, and we've got a live event coming up in a couple of weeks. And I'm emceeing an event for another person and for Amber, who helped with the book launch, and in Austin. You're going to be there, actually. You're going to
be there. Super excited about this. Yeah, we can dive into that just a bit. Yeah,
for sure.
I'm loving it.
So just all the things that go with it. And it's kind of a funny personal story, but we were home for my 25-year reunion, and there was people messaging me beforehand and that brought books to the reunion to have me sign.
Nice.
And it was like this super awkward, now I appreciate it. Right.
Yeah.
But it was like, all right. Yeah. I remember
this is what this feels like, being a well-known famous person now. Yeah. What's funny is you are the most famous person those people know. That's the thing.
That's it. Right. That's it. Well, and it's, I post a lot of my travels and stuff. Obviously we're always all over the world, but we were in 7 countries during book launch. Yeah. But now that I'm an author, it's official. Like I officially.
That's right.
It's silly how we think,
Yeah, exactly. I'm just curious, for those that are watching, sort of what was the biggest sort of lessons learned for you? Like if anyone's listening to this who happens to be maybe interested in writing a book or publishing a book, what would you say your like top 1 or 2 sort of lessons in this process has been?
Oh man, I say often I could write a book about writing a book at this point. And there was so much I got wrong, so many misconceptions. I think the biggest takeaway is you have to be writing a book for you and for the people you're writing it for. And in my case, the people that I think I can help, and expect absolutely nothing in return. A successful book launch was a tremendous amount of work and a tremendous amount of money. So you're not going to make any money on your book. And once I've kind of figured that out, and I didn't set out to do it on a money-making mission, but I thought, I'll at least recoup my costs. No, like it's not even close, So it really is, it's got to be a labor of love. And when you're in those final stages, you start to see real fast why books don't get published, and why everyone has a book inside of them, or started a book, or was thinking about writing a book.
Yeah.
There's various levels of, man, this is a lot, so to do it right, not for, I'm just going to throw a 99-cent ebook on Amazon, that's a different thing. But
yeah, exactly. But I mean, I think there's some really good lessons in that around. One is that you have to accept the fact that you're not necessarily going to make a boatload of money from the start. But I mean, there's benefits to this writing a book, though. I mean, I'm thinking from the perspective of the authority you're building, and how you're crafting out your message to the population in terms of what you do, and the waves method that you have in this book. Maybe just briefly, for those who don't know who you are, what the waves method is, maybe just go through that real quick so they can get to know who you are a little bit on that.
Sure. So I'm a lifelong entrepreneur, and I personally found myself multiple times in that space where I had built a thing, and everyone around me tells me how successful I am and how happy I should be, and I'm miserable. And the book and the waves method, it outlines that and a bit of my journey. But ultimately, the waves method, without going crazy into detail, is your why, authenticity, values, exploring those things, and then your statement of purpose. And it's something I did for myself at a really low point in my life to give myself a decision filter so that everything I did, this book would be a perfect example of why am I doing these things? And I run it through that same system. It's the system I've used every day for almost every decision for 20 years. And I've told these things to people around me, but when I sold my last business and didn't really have to do anything anymore, this is the evolution of that. You're kind of watching it happen. It was,
Right.
I don't want to die with this inside of me. That's silly. I'm going to write this book to hopefully help other people so they don't end up where I was. And that it's turned into so much more, and the foundation and all the other things that go along with it. But that was it. If I didn't know that this was going to help people, I would have quit.
Yeah.
It became that strenuous and difficult along the way. So,
well, the reason why I love this, I love the book, and part of the reason why you and I will be working together in the future, and we'll talk about that as well, is the notion that the waves method, although your particular target audience are entrepreneurs, I saw the value in using the exact same methodology for just leaders and organizations, because ultimately, when you assume a leadership position yourself, you kind of work your way up the chain. At least what I found was I worked my way up the chain. And then when I got there, I wasn't happy, and I couldn't understand why. I wasn't happy. And it's like, I'm making money, I'm making six figures. I'm able to go to Disney World every other year with the kids. I've got a big house, 4-bedroom house, all that stuff, but I'm still not happy. And it was because I wasn't aligned with my purpose, or what I felt was my purpose, which is your values and all those things that you work through in the book. So when I read through your model, I thought, oh, this would be perfect for the leaders that I'm coaching as well, not just entrepreneurs, which is why I think the two of us decided we need to work a little more closely together, because there is that line of similarity between entrepreneurs. So while the output might be different for an entrepreneur versus a corporate executive, ultimately how they get there and how they decide where they go with their careers is exactly the same process.
Yeah, agreed. Since the book came out, it's not like only entrepreneurs can buy it, right? So I get feedback from so many different people in so many different industries and how it affects them, from moms to CEOs and things that are not necessarily my wheelhouse or what I do as a private coach. But you're right, the methodology is the same. And the best example I heard was from a buddy of mine that he's high up at American Greetings. So he's been all over the world as a senior leader with them. And it was about having his team go through this so that not only he knew where they fell and what was important to them. And I always liken it to the 5 love languages, right? It's like, if you understand somebody's values, you're going to work with them better. It doesn't matter if they're your husband or an employee, but also how those things jived with the corporate culture. And so that he could see those disconnects. So I definitely see where that would be applicable in your world.
Absolutely. And it builds trust as well, because when you align your values with how you behave, there's no, explicit, implicit sort of dichotomy of values. Everything is aligned, and then you build trust in your organizations. That's amazing. So for those that are watching or listening, there'll be in the show notes, there'll be a link to where you can get Roderic's book on Amazon. So the information will be there, and I'll pop a picture on the screen for those that are on YouTube so you can see what it looks like. So that's awesome. Now, next phase of our lives, or your life, is Austin. That's coming up next. Actually, no, you have a workshop next week. I know. Do you want to sort of touch on that a little bit? Let's do that first.
I guess it depends on when this is going to air, but we are.
I'm going to try to get this out by the weekend. It's now October 27th, just so people know, for sake of argument here. Try to get this out on the weekend.
So the workshop is on Tuesday, the 31st. So if it's after the 31st, don't go looking for it, of October 2023. Right. And it is called the Life 180 Workshop, and it is designed really to be an introduction just to the concepts that we talk about in the book, and to see if it's something you want to dive further into. It's free. It's super short. I'm doing a condensed 33-minute thing. And then there's some ways we can work together, and then I'm going to do Q&A. So if people want to stick around, they can. And it's probably a good segue into, I've got the Weekly Waves community call, and that is it's a private room. It's for people who have either read the book or been through a course, came to the workshop, want to know more, and they're working on these things. Because what I find with my private clients is, as you really start to dive into who you are and identifying your values, you have less and less people to talk to about that. The people around you are not on the same journey. Exactly. And I created this room just to be an open forum for your struggles. And, what I hear a lot, certainly just kind of out in the wild on social media when I poll people is, yeah, I'm all for this, but my husband isn't, my wife isn't, my family isn't, my community isn't, and they feel alone. And I know that as an entrepreneur, that is a very familiar feeling because you're often the space between your ears is the only place you have to go. You can't talk to your wife about a lot of these things or your partner. You certainly can't talk to your business associates about it. You can't go to a local mastermind and go, I'm doing a lot of personal development work and I want to talk to you about these things. There's just, our society is not really built to support that. So I want to give that open space, and it's meant just for working on the waves method. It's just your questions around that. I'm in the room every week. It is by far the cheapest way to get me in your face if you so desire. But we're going to introduce that at the workshop on Tuesday. And I think the natural progression is our mastermind that you and I are developing, because once you start to identify these things, whether you're an entrepreneur or you're corporate, then it comes into, now what do I do about it? Okay, I've figured these things out about myself. Now what do I do? And it's you and I's group is obviously much smaller in scope, and purposefully so, but it's, where do I go from here? And having that support network of people who are at that stage of the game exactly, and we all help each other.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. I think there's tremendous value in masterminds. I did a video on that, and for those that are watching, you'll see a card show up for you at the top. But I did the value of masterminds, and it's not just to sort of sell this product, because that's not it at all. I want people to understand the value of what masterminds do. I mean, I'm involved in masterminds myself. I have 3 currently that I belong to. 2 are no paywall. They were just masterminds. One I just happened to fall into, and the other one I created with some colleagues. And I have one that's at paywall right now. And I've gotten tremendous value. Like my personal growth and my business growth has 10x since I joined these masterminds, easily at a minimum. And I think that that's the value add, is that it doesn't just give you a group of people that are like-minded and action-oriented and can keep you accountable, but it's also a space where you can actually do some critical and strategic thinking, because we're so busy in our lives. We just don't take the time. So when you build in and carve out this mastermind time for yourself, it actually gives you the time to do that strategic thinking that you need to do in order to continue to grow your career or your business. So I think it's an amazing idea, and we'll have more information on that as we sort of flesh this out.
I mean, masterminds for me have been, and I'm in several as well, kind of the same story as you, a free one that's, $100 a month. And then I'm in one that's $2,500 a month. And it doesn't take a lot of critical thinking to think of who's in those rooms and how do they differ, right? So there's a completely different set of people in a $2,500 a month room than there is in a free room.
100%.
And what you get out of it, what I find is that there's a lot. Well, there's networking, obviously. You can bring your problem and you have 20 brains thinking about it, but there's a lot of collaboration. I mean, you and I met in a mastermind, and you kind of see where those things lead when you place yourself amongst other people who are on the same journey. I mean, it sounds cliche, but that's where the magic happens, right?
Yeah, that's where the magic is. And I'm all about magic because I'm all about Walt Disney. So, that's my thing. Pixie dust is my thing. So, I love that, because one of the things that I really loved about the mastermind has been the network. I think that's probably been my number one. I mean, obviously growth is important and it's needed and it's what you want personally. But from a community perspective, I really, as a new entrepreneur, new to the entrepreneurial world, because I was in corporate for so long, I had an employee mindset. I had to shift, and I'm still shifting that mindset to entrepreneur. And so being in a room with other entrepreneurs is amazing, first of all, because you're learning from them. I mean, the one that we belong to might only be $100 version, but the reality is you've got, dozens of coaches that are at different stages in their careers, and yourself included, where you can kind of brainstorm ideas. You're collectively got hundreds of years worth of experience. It's just, you just can't match that in your family or with your friends or even fellow business leads in your community. You might not be able to get that. So I think that's amazing. So I'm really excited about that. That's going to be a great opportunity for people to leverage for their own growth. Yeah.
The thing that I find neat about ours is, well, all of them, but specifically the one you and I are together, is I will just listen in a lot. I don't bring an issue. I don't want to say I'm more advanced, because I think we all can be working on all the things all the time.
Yeah.
but it rekindles those basics. You start to get away from the things that got you to where you are, and when you hear other people going through those struggles, you learn it better when you teach it. So I show up to teach more than I typically show up to learn, but just hearing other people's struggles, it reminds me to focus on those very basic things that got me to this stage. And then the big mastermind, I'll call it, is the one that gets me to the next stage, and it's all just a ladder of personal development is all it is.
Yeah, exactly. An opportunity for learning as well, because I learn something from everybody every day when I go to these meetings. So I'm a big fan and believer of not just having a personal coach, because I've been coached and continue to be coached, but it's the concept of having a group of people that you can leverage brains. It's just unmatched. And if somebody wants to access that, how are we? We're probably going to give more information to them in the coming weeks as to how they can access it. But I'm going to say that if you're watching this and you're interested in anything Roderic has to say, just put $1 million in the comments down below and I'll connect you. And you can also check out his website, which I'll have linked as well here. So you can take a look at his website and see where you can access any of the products or the sort of webinars or whatever you're putting up. I think it's important to be part of your world. Join your mailing list, get on his mailing list, because he's got good content that comes out pretty frequently. So just a heads up, I'm just going to spew your information out there so people can, because I see the benefit of working with Roderic. So I think I'm a big fan of yours. So I think it's important that people get out there and get to know you. And it's low risk, but high value to join your mailing list. So, it's really low risk. So just go ahead and do that. Just like you can subscribe to this channel. So we have this big event coming up in Austin. I'm excited to go to Austin because I've never been to Austin. So I'm super stoked to even just be there for 2 days.
Yeah.
I'm excited. As the MC, maybe it'd be your best positioned here to provide a bit of an update on what this is. It's on November 8th or 9th, 10th rather.
9th or 10th. Yeah. It's different from any event like its kind that I have been to. I'm super excited to be in this room. It is, and there's going to be another one in April. I think it probably won't. I'm not going to say it won't be as good because they're all good for their own reasons, but this one is much smaller and more curated. And we're just in a room with thought leaders from around the world, but it's not that. We've all been to the one where you sit there and you watch somebody flap their gums and you take some notes and maybe you meet some people in the hallway. This is designed to be very interactive, and it is Amber Villauer, who's running it, is very skilled at connecting the right dots and connecting the right people. And she being at the top of that knows everybody and knows everybody's business. And yeah. I'm really looking for, we were on a call yesterday doing some of the planning and just how she is spider webbing the people together very purposefully while we're there.
I have a call with her next week for that exact purpose.
Oh yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. So I'm excited. There's going to be some really great talks on a variety of different things. Clay's launching his book and there's a bunch of other cool stuff happening. I'm launching my podcast that day on the 9th. Just the people that I know are going to be in that room, I think it's going to be epic. And it's sold out. I think there was only 3 seats last week when I looked. Good. So I'm excited. And I know as an MC, I'm just jazzed to be bringing a lot of cool little things that I've learned from going to hundreds of conferences myself and what I want as an attendee. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm super excited to just be in the room with very, I'm going to say success-minded people, right? Because that's the thing. What's the phrase? You are what the 10 people around you or surround you are.
Average of your 5 closest friends.
That's right.
I always use. Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't say my 5 closest friends, because my 5 closest friends, I would like to say, are my business associates, not my friends, because friends and family, you watch Roderic's video, he'll tell you why you don't want to go to your friends and family.
Feel like I talk about
down
this
below as well. Yeah, I'll link that video for you so you can watch that. It's a good video. Yeah, I'm just excited to be in a room with success-oriented people, because that's the one thing that I realized. The one thing that I've really realized in my business is that if I want to grow and I want to continue to be growth-minded, I have to be surrounded by people who are growth-minded, because there's nothing worse than expressing your stress or your concerns about your business to a friend or family, and they go, well, maybe you don't want to do that. And you're like, no, it's not what I meant. I need support here, and I want growth. I want to learn from other people. So I'm excited because I'm looking to write and put a book out in the next year. And this will be an opportunity for me to be around other authors, sort of seeing how they're building their business, their authority, how it's going to help them, really secure their own personal success. And how writing a book, regardless, as you say, you might not be making a ton of money, but it's all about getting your message message out there. Like I have a mess in my head and I want to share my mess into my message, right? That's the idea, is to transfer my mess into my message. I think it was Robin, gosh, I can't remember her last name now, from Good Morning America, who used to say this all the time, where she would say, you know, make your mess your message. And that's kind of what I want to do and be able to help people along. In my world, it's all about helping executives and leaders sort of manage themselves and maintain their health and maintain their stability and and for lack of better words, their sanity doing their jobs. And we tend to not do that for a variety of reasons. And that's sort of the book I want to write, is what's the process that in order to be able to kind of get control over your life again as an exec, because you don't have to give up your job. You don't have to give up your leadership role in order to reestablish your stability as a leader. And that's kind of what I want to work through people through. So this opportunity in Austin is going to help me. I'm sure I'm going to come away with 1,001 ideas about how to do this, where I want to go with it, what are some sort of strategies I'm going to have coming forward, and how do I build that into my business plan. It's going to be pretty exciting. So I'm looking forward to being there.
There's I want to say 15 plus #1 bestselling authors, you know, Wall Street Journal, New York Times, Amazon, whatever it is, but they've all, myself included, have all taken it in very unique ways. And, you know, to your point, you might not make any money on the book, but it's what you can do off the back of that book and the people who resonate with that message that is really key, right?
Yeah, because if I can get just a few leaders to sort of reestablish themselves to the point where they're feeling a little bit more joy in their lives, then I've done my job, right? That's kind of the goal of that whole publishing bit for me. But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how this will help grow the business. What do you think you're looking forward to the most?
Just meeting the other people, being face to face. I don't want to give away what my kind of opener is as MC, but it's
shucks.
It's it is very much, it's around the idea of all of us we enjoy giving more than receiving.
Yeah.
You know, and if you are there to make sure that the people around you are having the best experience, what will that do for us collectively? And you know, that's a lesson for the world too, right? But specifically this event. So I think knowing what I know about Amber and her group and all the other people I've met through her, the energy in that room is going to be electric, for lack of a better term.
So when's your podcast launching again? Remind me.
November 9. So we're going to launch it at the event, and everybody can go and subscribe right there from their seats.
That's awesome. That's awesome. It's all the more reason to follow Roderic, because I'm sure your podcast will be amazing. Do you have sort of a plan for how you want to podcast? Is it going to be a mix of live, sort of recorded? Like, what's your sort of plan or strategy around your podcast? You're going to have invited guests to it?
Yeah. So it's a kind of a 3-show rotation, and it is me flapping my gums about whatever is interesting me at the time and hopefully interests you. It is interviews with thought leaders from around the world. And it is a segment every week, or in that rotation, of Nicole and I, my partner Nicole, and the inside workings of what it's like to have an entrepreneurial relationship, and when do you turn off talking about it. And you know, my brain never stops. I just did a YouTube video the other day about the burden of the entrepreneurial mind, you know, and how does Nicole deal with that? You know, I don't know if deal is the right word, but how does she support me? And, you know, what does that really look like from the inside? Because I think that is somewhere that entrepreneurs in general struggle, certainly if their partner is not of the same ilk.
You know, again, I'm going to say there's some similarities on the corporate side, because, you know, when we struggle with our leadership challenges in our workplaces, we tend to bring that stuff home. So how our partners help us through that process. Like, I still think there's so much to be gleaned here, not just from entrepreneurs, but from the folks that are in the corporate world around that messaging that you've just shared with us. I just think it's like an amazing opportunity to really check out your podcast. So November 9th. So we'll have to keep an eye out for that, folks, because that's going to be, it's going to be an interesting podcast to listen to. My husband listens to a podcast, and I forget what it's called, but I'll get the name of it. But essentially it's an agile coach in the IT world. And he has every day of the week, it's a different theme, and he does it week on week on week. And he's quite popular now. He's got like 1 million+ followers. And it's because people get to know the routine, like every Monday it's this particular theme, and every Wednesday he has an invited guest in the industry, and every Friday they look at lessons learned or whatever. So he has this sort of, and he builds it sort of on the agile coaching sort of methodology. It's quite interesting. So it'll be interesting to see how your 3 components of your podcast works out for you.
Yeah, I'm going to try to do it every week, which 3 a week, as you know, is a lot.
It is.
But we will see. We will see how that goes. Maybe it starts with that and then tapers off a little bit. But we definitely want to be consistent with that rhythm, because I think each different episode brings something similar but different.
And then are you planning on also sharing, are you visually going to have it on camera? Like, are you planning on sharing that with your YouTube audience as well?
There'll be clips. I don't know if we're going to do whole episodes.
Gotcha.
But yeah, there'll definitely be shorts coming out of a lot of it.
So what's coming up for you that's fun in the next little while? I mean, obviously the Austin piece will be fun for you because you don't do things that aren't fun. That's just part of your values. But I'm just sort of thinking, like, are you traveling anywhere anytime soon? Is there anything else that's going on there?
I was listing off for my coach the other day. Well, what are we working on? And I almost filled up 2 hands, and I was like, clearly that's too much. Because
I'm to scale back.
Yeah. We had Austin, that's kind of all but worked out now. They had the workshop starting, the weekly waves community call, the mastermind. My journal is coming out December 9th. That goes along with the book, the podcast coming out November 9th. And then January 9th, our mastermind starts, or January 8th. And so there's 7. And then plus I have to go have a life and, live my values of freedom and autonomy. And
when are you sleeping?
So we just got back from that long trip. We did 7 countries over book launch, and
that's right. Yeah.
That was fun. And we may go back to Thailand in January. That's kind of where we were when all of this started. So there's this magnetic pull to go back to that same little beach on that same tiny island and see if that is like the fountain of inspiration. And if you read the book, I looked over at Nicole sitting on that beach, and I just said, we got to give it all away. And she's like, oh, what? And she's just drinking a smoothie, reading a book, so it's what a ride it's been, right? For 9-10 months.
Well, actually, there's a good lesson in that, because I know when hubby and I went out west, I found that I was having more inspired thought, just being relaxed. And I think that, if anything, folks, that's what speaks more to the need to take your time, carve out time for you, for just chilling out, because that's when the best ideas come to us. And it's part of the reason why I focused on self-care, which is this last week's, not this video, but the one before it will be self-care related. And the reason for that was because I really felt like I needed to take time for me to just sort of do that let the inspiration come, like clear the chakras, so to speak, so that the messages can come through this crown chakra of mine and just come into my brain, right? And as woo as that sounds, it's really about releasing the negative energy, right? And just getting into that headset to just let things come, because I find when I'm too busy, my brain just shuts off and I'm not open to new ideas. So the notion of being coached, being in a group, being in a mastermind, again, it all provides you that sort of opportunity to sort of quiet the mind and focus and just let ideas come, which I think is awesome. But what a great idea to do that in Thailand on the beach. I mean, doesn't get
it's forced at that point,
Well, I mean, yeah, exactly. Like, who doesn't want to be like, I was thinking, Ash, I'd love to go to, like, Fiji, or I don't know. I've got so many places on my bucket list. It's ridiculous. Hawaii.
Speaking of Fiji, two crazy things. One, we just found out that our spring intensive with my coach is in Fiji.
Nice.
Last one was Hawaii. And then next week or the week after, we've got our virtual intensive, and Alex Ramosi is speaking for an hour. Yes. So yeah, to be in the same room with him is going to be pretty epic.
But that's awesome. That's awesome.
I was just thinking about your rest days, your self-care days. And I mean, I did one of those Wednesday, I guess. I cleared my calendar and we just took off in the truck. I live right by the Blue Ridge Parkway. So we drove the parkway for, if you don't know what the parkway is, it's 500 miles of beautiful vistas, no commercial traffic, 35 miles an hour. And it's perfect fall right now. So everything's red and yellow and green. And so many ideas come during those times, and where you're not completely shut off, but you're just, it's downtime. And I did a video, it was either last week or the week before, about the twin cycles of creativity and productivity, or productivity and rest. And you look at the greats, the Henry Fords and the Einsteins and the people who really did Michelangelo. I mean, you can go as far back as you want, and they all took extended rest. They worked feverishly when they were working, but then they took dedicated rest, and we don't do that.
Yeah, but part of the reason why we don't do that as entrepreneurs, especially, I can say, is that you don't have your systems in place yet to allow you to do that. If you've got systems in place, like, we talk about Tim Ferriss in the 4-Hour Workweek talks a lot about this, is that if you can't go away for 2 weeks without chaos when you get home, you're not set up.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just one of those things. So if you've got a system that you can do that, that's amazing. I fully admit I'm not there yet. I'm still kind of building my own systems and my own practice to the point where I can go away for 2 or 3 weeks and not have to worry about lead generation and contacting clients and that kind of thing. So we'll get there. We'll get there. It's just part of the growth process, right?
Yeah, for sure. For
yeah.
sure.
So I don't want to belabor. I just want to kind of say thank you for being here on this. I just love that you're sharing your stories with us today. And do you have any thoughts for the audience in terms of next steps for you or anything that you'd like to bring to their attention?
I would just check out milliondollarflipflops.com. From the beginning, it has been an evolution where you can kind of watch me build this thing using the principles I tell you to build your thing with.
Yes.
So I very much walk my talk, so it's fun if you've been watching from the beginning to watch that evolution. So there's always something new coming up. There's always a new event. There's always a new workshop. So hopefully we'll see you there.
Yeah, great. And for those again watching, thanks for watching the pod or watching this on YouTube or listening on the podcast. I appreciate your time here today. And please make sure you check out all the links down below to Roderic's information, and any videos that we've mentioned in here or any kind of materials that we've mentioned will be also in the show notes. So thanks again for being here, Roderic. And I look forward to seeing you on November 8th.
Yeah, thanks, Tammy. Appreciate it.
Talk to you soon.